Okay, the sales data is in for the month of October in New Brunswick, and I'm going to go area by area, and I'm going to start with the month of October and then go year to date. So really quickly, sales are down 3.2% from last year. I'm going to leave this up while I talk so you can see it as we go along here. Listings, 486 for the month of October. That is 36% more than last year and 31% more than 2022, 40% more than 2021 and 2019. The years in between, I can't actually see right now. Those don't show on our statistics reports. Active listings, they're up 30% from last year, roughly 16% from 2022. Down from 2019, but that's about it. Sales to new listing ratio for the month of October at 56.4%. That firmly puts us in balanced market territory, meaning the seller's market is officially over, at least for the time being. That is much lower than any of the last few years, and I believe that 56.4 is the lowest since 2016. So this market very, very quickly hit a brick wall. Now, I loosely predicted, I don't like to predict, it's more of a guess, that we would be in buyer's market territory either by the end of this year or into next year. I do think at some point next year we will wind up hitting buyer's market territory. Again, guess, I don't have a crystal ball. Don't make your decision based off anything I'm saying that is a guess like that. Just make a good purchase based off sales data. When you buy real estate, you don't buy it to sell it within a year. Anyways, months of inventory, 4.3. That is about 2019 levels. Months of inventory is a different statistic than sales to new listing ratio. It can be manipulated by things like, expired, withdrawn, and canceled listings, which are up quite a bit, about 16% more than they were last year and about 30% more than just this month last year. So expired, withdrawn, canceled listings are accounting for about 38% of the homes that left the market in October, which is of course quite significant. The average price, however, when you look at this, is $380,000. It's over $30,000 more than the median price, which of course is not sustainable. And it's up 7.5% from last year and up 27% from 2022. 2022 prices were pretty high even in October, so that's a pretty significant increase. Median price $348,000. I feel that Moncton should be a little bit closer to that, $330,000, maybe $340,000 mark, and of course inflation is going to factor into that quite a bit. So the median price maybe a little bit high. The average price absolutely too high. I do believe that these will come down. Now, this does not mean that every house is going to lose its value. It means that I believe more houses are going to sell in the lower price points, and that will drive down the average and the median. So it's important to understand what I'm saying when I say that I think the average price will drop. It doesn't mean I think every home is going to lose a certain amount of its value. A sale to list price ratio. So this is the percentage of the price that a home will sell for relative to its listing price. 98.6%. This is, quite a bit lower than the last few years here, especially when you look at 2021 for October. Median days on market, 31. So about what we had 2 years ago in October, which was, rather slow part of the year for some reason. The last half of 2022 was a very different story from the first half. Now when we go year to date, so year to date, sales activity, it's still up 3.7%. New listings are up almost 20%. Active listings are up 17.8%. Sales to new listing ratio on the year is 64.5%. Technically, that is seller's market territory, but it's always seller's market territory this time of year. This is the lowest year to date that I'm seeing. I can't see the 2018 data, so we'll say since 2018. I'm assuming we're higher than 2020, of course. Months of inventory, 3.4. That is the highest in quite a while. Again, there's little gaps in here. I can't see 2020, I can't see 2018, and I can't see 2016 or 15. So the months of inventory itself, this is the lowest since probably about 2019. And again, this is a statistic that can be really heavily skewed by homes that leave the market but don't actually sell. And it also tends to be a trailing statistic. And again, same with sale to list price ratio, also a trailing statistic. Typically, if people are buying in homes that are in markets that are heating up, they're going to be more reluctant to spend close to asking or over asking price because they've been conditioned by a slower market. The inverse is true as well. When you're in a market that's slowing down and shifting downwards, a lot of people are still conditioned to go over asking, full asking price, and it'll take time for the SLPR to go up and down. It's a slow moving statistic. Sale to new listing ratio is a much more real-time statistic that is really hard to manipulate, that will dictate what the market conditions are like. So median days on market, 30. Again, balanced market is not bad. And even if we are in a buyer's market at any point, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to sell your house. It just means if you're selling a house and buying a house, you're going to make more value on the purchase than you are on the sale. It usually washes out pretty well. And if you bought it at a good price, which is probably most people in New Brunswick, honest, the last like couple of years, you're probably fine. Even if you bought in the last couple of years, as long as you made a purchase that was based off of real data and not just speculating that things were going to go up 10% every year, you're probably in a really good position. So I would say most people in this province are in a really good position. I would say there's definitely some people that bought certain types of homes that were like not super sustainable. So for example, we saw specific jumps in different parts of 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024 to a very small extent. For example, in 2022, we saw the semi-detached homes. So I call these semi-basics, and I mean any semi-detached home that doesn't have a garage, is, 2-story, doesn't have an ensuite. Usually they're about anywhere between 13 and 1650 square feet above grade, usually built around 2007, 2006, all the way up till about 2012, 2013. And it sounds arbitrary, but the reason I cut off at these times is because we saw massively different design styles start to emerge around 2014. And it really kind of separated the demand for those types of homes. And a lot of times stuff before 2007, 2006, it just doesn't appeal to a lot of buyers the same way because you get a lot more wear and tear. So I found those homes kind of shot up a lot in 2022, and they continue to shoot up basically every year. I think those are sometimes a little bit inflated, especially when I look at even just the similar homes that are selling at the same time. It's not uncommon where you'll see a home that's like 15 years old or 10 years old sell for almost the same price as one that's like 2 or 3 years old. The semi sales data is all over the place, and specifically that one type of semi is the one where I see the most overpays. And again, those are like 2006 to 2013 2-story semis with no garage, no en-suites. I find those have been a little bit crazy. Of course, the semi-splits go into that category too. And I remember being in the last half of 2021 and being amazed that semi-splits were selling over 250 and then over 260, 270. And now it just seems like every average semi-split is selling for like 300, 310, 320. And I don't understand it. I look at the sales data. The sales data certainly does not support it. There's better values out there basically at any given time that these semi splits are selling at. I mean, we're talking like 2014 semi splits that are going for 310, 315, 320, and it's just a head scratcher. I don't get it. And then the last thing I want to bring up is basically everything with a basement apartment that's sold in like 2022 and 2023, but specifically 2023. I don't understand fully what happened or what caused us to go this way. But I mean, we are seeing homes in like the hospital area, homes in the Birchmount subdivisions go for like 400, 425, 440 that were literally just bungalows with basement apartments. And I don't understand how those are cash flowing. I'm not sure if they are. I definitely found those to be a major head scratcher, especially when you look at already the sales data for homes with basement apartments. It's already not what it was last year. So I think there's certain asset classes that got driven up a lot more than others. And yeah, those would be some of them. Now, to talk about good asset classes, I would say just most of the market in general, there's a lot of nice values out there. The West End is one that really, really jumps out. Rural Riverview towards Stony Creek, Hillsborough, those values I find are incredible. When you look at Upper Coverdale compared to Lower Coverdale, it's like a night and day difference in values. And in my opinion, they're both really, really nice areas. Lower Coverdale, a lot of people don't realize this. It's maybe 14, 15 minutes to downtown for the most part. It's not bad. You get low taxes. The prices are cheap. You're just outside Riverview. I mean, everything you'd ever want is like a stone's throw away. The only downside would be if you buy at Costco, it's kind of far. There's no real shortcut to get there, but still, it's great value. Upper Coverdale, it's not even that it's bad value. It's just that Lower Coverdale is incredible value, just like the West End is incredible value. The West End is one of the very few true S-tier, high-end, top-of-the-line, gotta be in their neighborhoods, and it's just not priced that way. When I say the West End, I mean the old West End, I mean most of the new West Ends, I mean Fernwood, I mean Centennial. All of these areas I find are just so incredibly undervalued, and again, the prices still sell well there, but this is an S-tier neighborhood. This is one of the best, if not the best neighborhoods in Moncton. It should be up there with Fox Creek. I'm not saying it should be priced like Fox Creek, but it should be priced a lot higher than it is. And that's basically been the way the entire time. Again, West End, really good. A lot of Riverview is really good too, especially if you can buy on streets that are a lot more quiet. So like streets like Berkeley, areas around McAllister Park, I love quite a bit. Any really quiet street. So Riverview is good for this. The West End's good for this. North End sometimes can be really good for this. When you can buy a house in a street that doesn't have a lot of through traffic, it can provide a lot of additional value. And this is going to sound really weird, but a lot of times those homes are also cheaper because they get less driving and foot traffic, people don't always see them. So they're a lot more dependent on that early rush of momentum. So if you are looking at homes and you see a home that's on like a crescent or a cul-de-sac or a street that's just not that busy and it's been sitting for like a month, it could very well be that they just didn't get the momentum they needed right away, or they had an offer come in, fell on finance, inspection, something, and you could get a really good deal. And literally the reason you're getting that good deal is because people don't drive by it 35 times a day. They don't see it. And that, in my opinion, is a very good thing, because you do not want a lot of traffic on the street for the house you are buying. All right, so that's my Moncton recap. I'm going to do a very quick section for the next few bits. So I live in Moncton. I don't sell in Fredericton. I don't sell in Northern New Brunswick or St. John. I can, but I try to keep those to a minimum. I try to refer out to realtors that know the area better. I certainly would not take a listing by myself in any of these markets. And if you want more nuanced, better info, talk to a realtor from those markets. So let's start with St. John. Now, my personal outsider's opinion of St. John is that it is a port city. It is somehow always cheaper than the rest of New Brunswick. It's the home to one of the largest employers, love it or hate it, in New Brunswick. And it has really just a lot of upside. Now, of course, there are a lot of people that have negative things to say about St. John, but we've kind of reached this sort of bell curve where St. John gets kind of dunked on way too much. And sure, like anywhere in New Brunswick, it could probably get dunked on, but it's definitely gone a little bit too far. So let's look really quickly at their sales data. They're having a really good month and a good year. SNLR in St. John right now is 92%, months of inventory 2.2%, average price 340, median 320. And again, look at the spread between the average and the median price. That's a lot more healthy than even what we have in New Brunswick or in Moncton right now. So the sale list price ratio of 102.4, that's hot. That means most stuff is going over asking right there. Median days on market, I mean, it's basically in line with what it's been for the last like 4 years. So they're in a seller's market territory right now. And what you'll notice is that St. John and Fredericton are the only spots in New Brunswick that are still in seller's market territory. And they are really doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So when you see data and sales data, oftentimes you'll see all of the maritime provinces, PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland lumped into one, and they'll just call it Atlantic Canada. That data is not worth looking at because there is so much nuance in all four of these provinces, even in New Brunswick, that the conditions of all four of those markets are completely irrelevant. And even if you're buying in New Brunswick, the condition of the market in different parts of New Brunswick is so different. I mean, you look at Moncton, we're having the worst SNLR that we've had since 2016. And then you look at St. John and they're just on an absolute burner right now, despite everything else happening. And again, this could change at a moment's notice, but if you look at this, you look at the price, it supports the price, right? You look at the months of inventory, look at the SNLR, the price increase, it makes sense when you do the math, it just works. And now we're going to go into Fredericton. So Fredericton, again, it's a home to a lot of government jobs, a lot of forestry jobs. Gagetown is a military, I don't know the right terminology, but Oromocto and Gagetown have a lot of military jobs. So it has a really stable job base, and it also has two really good universities. It's got UNB and I believe it's St. Thomas University. So yeah, sales activity really low, 193. And one thing I will say is that Fredericton, like Moncton, does have a lot of cheaper rural areas that tend to push the price down quite a bit. So it's important to kind of keep that in mind. Like Central Fredericton, you're probably not going to find a home at 325. It would be difficult, I would imagine. But again, I don't work in the area. I don't know it very well. I've been a few times. It's a nicely developed city. I find St. John too is a nicely developed city, but it's a university type town. It's got a lot of the energy and boom that you would get from a university town, which is something that you kind of don't really get in Moncton. If you want that feel, you kind of have to go to Halifax to get it. Now we go year to date. Again, you look at all the same stuff. I mean, their active inventory, it's up 20%. Sale to new list ratio is 70%. Like they're still firmly in seller's market territory. The spread between the median and the average is extremely close in Fredericton. I think whenever I see an average and a median price that are close together, it makes me feel a lot more secure and stable about the average price. But again, keep in mind, it varies a ton by area. There's a lot of nuance, and I'm not going to get too far into this. I will leave this up to someone in the area to go through it, but New Brunswick's a big place. Now, the last one, this is actually one of the largest geographical areas in New Brunswick, and it encompasses a lot. So this is the northern region of New Brunswick. They call it Northern and Valley on our system. This is areas like Restigouche County, so you're talking Campbellton, Dalhousie, you got Edmundston, which is really close to the U.S. border. A lot of areas close to the Quebec border, close to the U.S. border. It's generally a very slow market. As you can see over here, months of inventory, even in 2017, was 14.4. So if you're from Toronto, you're probably like, what? How is this possible? Well, these markets are some of the most illiquid markets you can buy in New Brunswick. It's very, very tricky. I don't sell in these at all. I've only been to Northern New Brunswick maybe 4 or 5 times compared to Fredericton and St. John. I've been there at least like 20 or 30 times each. Average price, 240. 114, median price 190. Very, very slow. Even in the hot markets, these things did not go over asking on average at all. And median price, they barely moved. Now, this is almost like investor bait. A lot of people would see the prices in these areas and they would just buy them thinking they can just cash flow and rent anything. Some of them have learned that that is not easy. And then they have learned also that it is not easy to sell things in an area where there's not that many people. So yeah, just a quick recap. New Brunswick is one of those areas. We are not an economic powerhouse. The average earnings in New Brunswick are not good. We can support 330 price. We could probably even push like a 340, maybe next year if everything goes well. We could hit like a 350 and maintain it. But right now, I would say that Moncton, we are firmly in an area where we do not have the wages that can support the purchase prices of the homes right now. I think 380 is, I don't know if we'll see 380 for a long time. And if we do, we'll probably have bigger problems than the average purchase price. So be careful out there with your purchases. Try not to buy things that are so far above the average or the median price, because the further north of the median and average price you go in any given area, the more difficult it is to sell. And again, every neighborhood's different, right? If you're buying the median price in one of the top areas of the city, then you're getting a good deal. Liquidity is not an issue. But if you're buying $800,000 house in an area where houses on average will sell for about $650,000, you're going to have a hard time selling it, even if it's worth every penny of that extra cost. It's just that not that many people here can afford to pay the prices that some of the people have paid over the last few years. We really kind of front loaded a lot of our sales volume and transactions to a tiny sample size. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do predict that things will slow down and it will become more difficult to sell houses. So, be careful what you buy. Be patient with your realtors. If you're having a hard time selling right now, you're not the only one. The market is definitely cooled off substantially. But yeah, that's it. If you have any questions about this, comment, I'll answer. If you have questions about, St. John, Fredericton, Northern New Brunswick, or if you're a realtor that works in those areas, I'd love to talk to you and learn more about those areas. But for now, I can't really provide much insight on those.